Afternoon, everybody. My name's Jeff Arnott, and I'm here today representing IPDAY with their wonderful new Tech Tuesdays they have started not too long ago. Today's topic is a topic of much interest from what I hear out there in the field, is about artificial intelligence and how it could benefit not just only education itself, but how it can benefit the whole adult education community. And there is some great breakthroughs that, of course, that are happening as we speak today. Things to remember about this webinar and any update webinar is if you have a question, just put it in the Q and A options. I will go through throughout the webinar and actually answer some as we go through. Remember, your microphones are muted and it will always be in listen only mode. And today's presentation is being recorded, and the fine team at IPDAY will have it available on this presentation on the IPDAY website within the next 48 hours. Oh, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a computer systems designed to perform the tasks that we normally do with our own brains. That includes problem solving, decision making, recognizing speech, and actually analyzing data itself. And that's what some of the latest tools have actually done, especially when we start talking about generative AI. Some quick facts about AI. We've been using AI for a long time. We might not know it. I had no idea about it. Really, Siri and Alexa, we ask it to give a command, and it's usually a single only command, and it will do that one thing for us. Or, I've done the same thing, go on to Apple Music, ask for a playlist, and it really does go out of its way to play the best 10, 15, 20 songs that I like. And of course, Amazon and Netflix does, I think, a wonderful job of finding the next movie that you're going to watch or television series itself. AI, ever since ChatGPT and all that came around in 2022, actually, is when it was debuted. AI has become a very accessible tool. It was an open source tool, which allowed many companies to really develop and the technology really to soar from that time. However, many people don't know this, but AI has actually been around since the 1950s, and they were even actually talking about AI during the days of the Greeks, going that far back. But it started in the Dartmouth College is actually the ones that had a conference and actually gave the term AI out back in 1956. And actually, during the Turing test in the 1950s, they actually talked about how computers would actually one day do this itself. Early successes in the 1950s through the 1970s actually had some of these tools actually do simple algebra. And some of you might remember in the 1980s, well, at least I do, in the 1980s, where there was some of these computer programs that were actually beating people at chess. And we're talking world champion chess folks. You might remember those days, and they were even talking then about how this new technology could eventually, completely take over. The federal government has been funding this work actually in the United States since the 1960s, with some grants given to MIT and Stanford to try to get this stuff up and running itself. And then, of course, the actual boom itself is currently now the language models from basically 2020 to the present. And on November 30th of 2022, ChatGPT was launched, and that really did change the game itself. Generative AI is what ChatGPT and some of the new tools have done, and these are the tools that are really starting to get a lot of attention. You can type in, and I'll show examples at the end. It can actually make text, images, music, videos, you name it. You put in a prompt, and boom, there you go. In fact, here's one I just made. I just asked Gronk, which is X's version of this, to give me a picture of a guy holding up a sign saying Grok 2 is better than ChatGPT. Changed my mind at a University of Florida tailgate party. Boom, there you go. It's pretty realistic. Even though it's not the best picture. As you can see, it's nothing but a bunch of pickup trucks in the back. And we know that's not the total realistic thing, but that was the first boom picture generative that I did while creating this particular PowerPoint itself. This is how AI is not only changing adult education, but really changing the world. First, in the workplace, it makes task optimization easy. I know I've done a little bit of grant writing since I've retired, and it does make the job a whole lot easier, especially when you're really trying to look at workforce data in a local area. And does it save time? Yeah, it does quite a bit, actually. And when it comes to education, personalized learning, and that's key. I think we're going to hear a lot about that in the future. I know some of the tools that we have already been using for several years in adult ed, some of the pre-testing tools like CASAS, does have some type of personal learning type of diagnostic for the individual, but we're going to see more of that. And then automated grading. There's one program I saw, I won't call it out by name, that I was talking to their vice president, and he was saying that they could actually put a stack of papers into this AI tool, essays, English essays, language arts essays, and it would actually grade them equally. The first paper would be graded the same way as the last paper. And I think we all have to admit as educators, when you're grading a stack of papers, you're pretty tough on those first couple ones. And there toward the end, it's dinner time and you're just giving some A's and B's so you can move on with life. And of course, other learning aids too to help those students at that individual level and maybe even help teachers out, how to make better lesson plans. And I'm going to show you how to make a lesson plan on ChatGPT here toward the end. Also, daily life, language transition tools. It makes life a whole lot easier. I love Duolingo. I love the transition tools that Google has, especially when you're traveling around the world. And of course, some of these health apps are absolutely fantastic. Key point, AI is helping us work smarter, not necessarily harder. Benefits for adult education. I talked a little bit about these already. And of course, in adult education, it's such a personalized, individualized educational platform anyway, especially when you get to the GED and the ABE realms, a personalized learning to help student progress. This would be a wonderful world if every student had that exact prescription in order to help them succeed, like a doctor does with you when it comes to your health. That could be a great asset. Also, language and writing tools to assist ESL students. I mentioned Duolingo, which I'll show you that one. It's a fun, interactive tool for a guy like me who spends a little time in France to really learn a little bit about the French language. But it is a very powerful tool for ESL students really trying to learn American English. Also, access to career development tools. Some of these are fantastic resume tools that can build a resume in the matter of seconds. How to get a resume through those initial interview selection processes, and also how to prep for interviews. Those are some tools that we should be paying attention to, especially when that student is taking IETs, for instance, and then getting to transition over into a new job. For teachers, I think everybody's going to love this. It will reduce your class load. I remember back in the day, and some of those people probably do too, where you had to handwrite your lesson plans in these little boxes and these little books. You had to grade your work with a calculator. You had to figure out the grade the old-fashioned way. And yes, mistakes were done. Today, the automated grade books has been around probably for close to 30 years now. But the feedback systems that would actually, when you grade the work, that'll give you some feedback, not only for the student, but also for the teacher, how to help that student. And there is hundreds of tools out there, paid and free, that does allow that can create good detailed lesson plans. And if you put a lesson plan in and you don't think it's detailed enough, it will make it even more detailed. And it does enhance better classroom management and resource allocation. So what I mean by that is it saves your time. It allows you to manage the classroom in a better stuff. I don't know of any AI tools yet that solve student discipline issues yet, but it does allow you to spend more time really delivering content instead of creating content. Also, outcomes. It's empowering both teachers and students to achieve more. And it is an exciting time. That is for sure. Here's some real life AI tools for the classroom. These are some, and I will go over a few of these. ChatGPT, which is OpenAI. And a bunch of these are free. Now, they do have paid versions, and there is some benefits to the paid versions. For instance, it'll save the stuff that you created. It also privatizes it a little bit more instead of just going out there into the wild, wild, wild world of the internet and all those things. Also, Grammarly. Grammarly's been around for a while, and I can honestly thank Grammarly for helping me really get through my dissertation myself when I was writing it. And not only did it, I think it improved my grammar, it actually taught me how to make it clearer. So it seems like the more I wrote, the better I got. It was not only just one that just helped you with that, but helped teach you at the same time. It was really recognizing those mistakes that you've probably been making for 50 years, literally in my case, 50 years. It helped out with that. Khan Academy, many school districts already have a Khan Academy. It has personalized academic support, and of course, those are more paid versions that will actually tell the student these are things that you should work on. These are ideas or benchmarks that you need help in. These are things that you're doing really well in. Those are very, very valuable. And then, of course, Quillbot rephrasing and summarizing tool. Once again, it's more than just rephrasing. If a student uses it enough effectively, it will help them smooth out their own grammar on their own. I think that's important as well. And of course, Duolingo, one of my favorite tools. I love Duolingo. It is and by the way, there's so many languages on there. It's wonderful. It is great for ESL students. And most of these tools are free. Here's a disclaimer, and if there's one thing you should definitely remember from this webinar is always ask your tech professionals and leaders if these tools are allowed by your school district or college. There could be reasons why these innocent tools may not be compatible with your operating system and your school system. And definitely make sure you check so you don't get in trouble. And here's the good news. You may find out they already use it and you might get passwords for the more paid versions, or they could have purchased some tools that are very, very good or compatible. So always check before using them, especially if you're going to use your work email address to do it. That's just maybe me being overly cautious, but I think you definitely should. Also, safeguards. These are some safeguards of using AI in the classroom. And these are always concerns that, some of the tech people will always wonder is bias. Understand they may have limitations. Always review content. And I will show you some examples of where you want to review the content before you just throw it out there for everybody to look at. Student privacy is always a concern. And of course, there's state laws and everything around that, and even some federal laws. Make sure that those tools are compliant. That's another reason. And these are questions that maybe you should ask your tech people as you ask them to use it. And also, don't encourage students to over rely on it. And also, as an educator, we shouldn't over rely on it as either. It's a support tool. It's not a replacement because there is, as it stands today, a few errors that you come across in using AI. So it's always good to definitely do that. And best practices: train students to evaluate these tools for accuracy and talk about some ethical AI issues in class. I remember my first experience. I did a podcast not too long ago, and somebody asked me on that podcast, what was my first experience with AI in a classroom? Well, my first experience was when I was teaching a college class, and a student turned in a paper who was 16 years old, by the way, who turned in a paper that had perfect APA 7 citations on it. It looked like a Harvard professor wrote it. And I was going like, what is this all about? And here's the thing is I threw it through the plagiarizer machine and it wasn't plagiarized because AI created it as original content. And I really had to have a nice discussion with the student about it. Of course, the student's 16. I'm not going to jam up the student's academic career over something like that. But that was something that you definitely want to teach students to use. If and using AI is fine. You just need to quote it, cite it, and use those practices as you do it. But always talk about the ethical side of it. And I'll let you search what's ethical. Um, and of course, for career preparation, this is important. This right here, I think, is one of the most important things for adult students because they're the closest to getting to the workforce, besides maybe a senior graduating next week from a college. These are tools that maybe your career counselors, your career navigators should be, or even teachers should be engaging students with. Here's some tools I came across: Resume IO, Zeti, mock interview tools. Interview warm up is a wonderful thing, and LinkedIn is a social media site that's really evolving nicely. Has some nice AI refining tools in on that platform. And by the way, the others, X, Facebook, and Instagram, also have some AI integration tools that are pretty good. They're not bad at all. And also, here's the ironic thing: we've been telling students to go into coding for a while. Guess what? AI does coding now. And you can basically use AI for students to explore fields and maybe be introduced to coding, data analysis, and robotics. Data analysis tool is great. AI wasn't fully formed before I did my dissertation, so I put my research question into ChatGPT, and guess what? And some data. It did a pretty good job, maybe better than me, actually, at analyzing data when it came to that. So those are some wonderful tools that you really have to get deep into. Maybe I can come back and do a AI 2.0, we talk about some of those particular things. And also how students need to be taught how AI can help them in the workplace. And also remember, this may be an opportunity for us as educators to really think how we deliver instruction in the classroom. Because, yeah, a student could probably go to YouTube and use these AI tools and learn themselves pretty easily. This may be an opportunity for us to really take education to the next level. Also, some of these products can mirror teamwork. I'll encourage students to do projects or do these projects in teams. Well, we might as well just face it. In the workplace, you're usually working in teams. So, and you're always experimenting and you're always doing trial and error. Why not bring that stuff into the classroom? AI can definitely do that for you. Once again, these are some free tools that we talked about earlier. ChatGPT, Edmodo has some great stuff on how to manage your lesson plans out there. Another one is Otter AI. Otter AI was wonderful for me when I was doing interviews for my dissertation, where I could actually interview the student and it would actually give me some analysis of what they said, summed it up, and all that, which is great. It is a great tool for students with disabilities. It could help a lot there as well. But at the end of the day, it could just help out any student, especially language. Emerging language learners, that could be a tool that can help as well. Bot's good, paraphrase tools, and then, of course, Poe.com itself. Let's look at some resources real quick. Let me show you some of these websites. Okay, here's ChatGPT itself. It's not a very pretty site, and if you do want to, if you are interested in doing the paid version, it's about $20 a month. It's not a, it's not a back-breaking fee or anything, but it is. I think it's personally worth it itself. If you can see here on the left, here is some of the stuff I've used ChatGPT for helping me with some grant writing, helping me do all kinds of stuff, proposal letters, you name it. It has really kicked my game up. I cannot complain about it at all. But let's look at it from somebody teaching social studies in the classroom. Let's type in a prompt real quick. Give me a lesson plan. Oops. And by the way, always try to spell everything correctly in here because it could interpret it the wrong way. For the, see here, 1980, was there a World Cup then? I know there was one in 92. World Cup. Okay, we'll just make it a little fun. Let's see what it does. Here's the Cricket World Cup. See, once again, I needed to put in the Soccer World Cup. But nevertheless, well, the main reason is because I think the World Cup was in 1994. But there, once again, it tells you the grade level. It tells you the materials you need. It gives you a nice lesson outline, core lessons, you name it, goes right down, even breaks it down to the minute for you. And of course, if you wanted to add more to it, you can do that. Conclusions, it can give you assignments, assessments, the whole 9 yards. Back in the day, that would have probably took 2 days. Today, no time whatsoever. Yeah, I meant, uh, whoops, how about the 1994 soccer world? Do. There it is, the FIFA World Cup. I see that's where you really want to make sure that you're putting good input in order to get good output. And I love this right here. If you look here, history, geography, physical education, cultural studies. Could you imagine a group of teachers working together on this particular project? As you can see, this is actually a wonderful, wonderful tool to help you create these particular things, saving a teacher tons of time. Can't explain it any other way. Here's another one here, beautiful AI. This is another one that does charge a couple bucks, but you can put in an idea of what you want and it creates a PowerPoint for you. Here's one right here this is one of my webinars I do normally or do keynotes and everything on is increasing enrollment in adult education programs. I put some topics in and guess what? Boom, it gave me a nice PowerPoint that doesn't look like it was done by PowerPoint. So it's like looks like original content, and even puts in timelines. It just makes it look really, 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 really nice. And then of course it gives you a nice core to work with. Now some of these community partners, I would have no idea who they are, but you could go in and put your community partners as there's an example as one. Even gives you quotes if you don't like it, put in another one, and it just kind of gives you an idea of it. It's just a really a nice thing. But once again, I just want to show you that you want to do it. Let me get back here. You want to make sure you double check it. Sorry if you're Seminole fans out there, but I just popped one in real quick about the Florida Gators, the history of the football program. And I just want to show you why it's important to double check it. Yeah, some of this is correct. Yeah, that's correct. Even has that correct, has the great Steve Spurrier in it. But look here, it has Dan Mullins and Mike White as the football and basketball coaches of the University of Florida. Both those guys were run out of town. So obviously, it's not always correct. I don't know why they have a picture of the Florida Keys down there for the University of Florida either. So always want to double check on that. Now here's a great tool itself. This is Grok, which is by X, and Facebook and Instagram have something that's pretty similar. You can ask it to make a picture of anything. Let's put on here picture. It's here French bulldog on beach. Let's see what comes up. It will actually create you some options. I like Gronk because it gives you options to look at. And here you go. Put it in real quick. Look at that beautiful pup. And it gives you plenty of options to look at, even different types of French bulldogs, and for you to do that picture of. So I think that's just a pretty cool tool itself. And here's another one as well. Copilot by Microsoft. There's a good chance you already have this on your computer already. And it does the same thing. Actually, the prompts on this are close enough to chat GPT. So you may already have a free tool that's in there. Just look for that little symbol right there where my cursor is at. And you can get more information. It's actually a pretty good tool as well. Grammarly is another tool. This is the one I told you about before. Once again, I have the paid version. I believe it's $60 a quarter. So it's a little under 20 bucks a month. But here it archives all the stuff that you've worked on for, in my case, for a few years. So it's definitely worth it. If you write some, upload it, it'll smooth it out for you the whole 9 yards. So definitely go through that. And if you have LinkedIn, Rakuten, actually, you get 10 bucks back too here, obviously. And also, here's one of my favorites, Duolingo. I love this app. This one right here actually gives you training in different foreign languages. It's gamified. You can, be the guy of the month, has nice little cartoon characters in it, the whole nine yards. And you can make your own profile. And it even has different languages. Look at this. You can actually become a master of Klingon. Yes, I said that. Klingon from Star Trek is even actually on there. Hawaiian, French, the whole nine yards. And it's pretty cool. And it does. For instance, here's one lesson on talking about Paris. There's Duo himself. And which of these is a map?
Le plan.
And there it does, even in the proper French accent. Ah, I got it right. So it is. It's a cool little game. And there is a free version and there's a paid version. I recommend the paid version, of course, as well. Yeah. Sorry, Duo. Got to end that lesson. And this one here is a real cool one as well. You can actually take some content and it'll turn it into a video clip for you. So our friends at IpDay, I did one for them real quick. I put in the prompt from the Florida DOE website about what IpDay is, and I asked it to make me a little video. Watch this. See here. What is IpDay? Hmm. So here, preview the video. Watch this. It takes
IPDAE, Institute for the Professional Development of Adult Educators, is an initiative supported by the Florida Department of Education that offers information, resources, and professional development for adult education career pathways programs 12. It provides tools for adult educators to help individuals achieve their academic and career goals while supporting community and economic growth.
Obviously, that was kind of robotic sound, and that number you see that little 12 right there from programs. That was probably some footnote that I didn't take out. It's going to read everything you have, but it does give a little cool visual to it. That would be great, especially when you're creating some lectures and or you wanted to create it in a different language. That's something that you can do as well with this particular tool. So Picatory is really cool. So definitely check that one out. And also on the in the when you get to the IPDAY website, I created here was a little handbook that you can actually. Yeah, I put some information on here about the history of AI itself, free tools for your classroom. It gives you the website. I even put on here key features of what it does, how to access it. And I put it on here for several AI tools that I think are relevant. But of course, there's thousands and thousands of AI tools out there itself. And yeah, just definitely take a peek at that. This little workbook, as they call it, if they calls it, does have a nice menu of items out there itself. Also, let's go back to the PowerPoint slide. Also, just remember there literally is thousands and thousands of AI tools out there. I guarantee you, since I started this webinar a little over about a half hour ago, there's probably been some new AI tools that are already created. I always say, take your time to look at them, make sure it's the right thing, and make sure it's the right price. There is a lot of people out there selling these particular products. I even go through Facebook and say you can be a high-paid AI consultant now. And I didn't know that was a thing for after only 2 or 3 years of this stuff being out. So be weary of that stuff. However, and also I'm also starting to notice this, and I think this is a benefit for all educators. A lot of the products that you most likely buy for your students is coming out with some type of AI tool or may have already come out with an AI tool. Definitely ask them to give you some training on that to see how it can help out your students. I think everyone now has to kind of keep up with the competition. So there is a lot of people just going to be throwing this stuff in at a low cost or no cost in the future. So definitely pay attention to that. And also, like I said, there's going to be a lot of money thrown into AI here in the next few years that you can already hear in the news. And not only that, it's even starting to become geopolitical. So there is a lot of worldwide interest in this particular thing. Also, remember for teachers, use AI to boost your productivity and ease your workload. Also, learn skills that align with modern workplaces workplaces. I think that's important, and that's no different than what we do with IETs and all that. Create the ones that make sense for the community in the modern workplace, and of course, use these tools with safeguards in place. And definitely ask your school district or college what those safeguards are if they have not trained you already. And make sure that you explore the tools of today, integrate them in your classroom, but always continuously to look at the tools that will be coming out tomorrow because it is going to change. There is absolutely no question about that. Oh, we got a few things here on the in the chat. So let's see what we got here. Let's see. Get some questions here. Oh, you're welcome for presenting. Let's see here. Thank you. Uh, In any of these apps, ChatGPT, Grammarly, and Quify used in other languages? Yes, I mentioned that before. I know Grammarly can, and I believe ChatGPT does too. I think there's a thing in there that actually will do that. Yes, definitely take that one out. Definitely check those out. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Oh, yes, on Update 2.0, Update AI 2.0. And where can you get these handouts? These handouts will be on the IPDAY website within the next 48 hours. I believe, I'm not sure if, I think they put the PowerPoint up, and they also will definitely put the little workbook up there too. And yes, and basically, if you do have any questions, oh, here, key points to remember. How can AI tools help you in your specific role? And administrators, if you're out there too, remember they can help you out as well. I've was plugging some stuff in like how can I market my school better? And so it gives you a nice plan. We'll even give you a SWOT analysis and the whole lot, yards. So definitely look at it, regardless of your role. It can have that. And this is always the big question that people have: is AI here to assist teachers, not replace them? I don't see that happening. There's still this whole human aspect that people like to have, talking to human beings. I don't think AI can ever take that away. Now, that is a personal opinion, but it's there to assist teachers and make you a more valuable employee. I personally think because you could spend more time, and I think it respects teachers. It gives you more of your time back. You don't have to spend days doing lesson plans, and always address. And this is a big one. Make sure you talk. Explore the ethical concerns, and those ethical concerns can be different from place to place. For instance, there's one large school district in New York that pretty much banned AI for a while, and there was a huge school district in California that unleashed it. There was two different outlooks and opinions from the upper leadership on what they thought. So always check that out and always stay in tuned with it. But one thing's for sure, it's not going anywhere. It looks like there's a lot of investment going into AI, not only from governments, but from private companies themselves. And always encourage a hand-on approach when utilizing these tools. Have students work in teams, have them do projects together. That not only shows that the proper way to use it, but two, it kind of gives them an idea of what the workforce is going to be about. Also, ask your students what they're using themselves. People I always found that out. They always tend to be maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of this stuff than I ever was. So always ask them what they are using, what they like, because it could make your teaching that much easier. And sometimes, I don't always say sometimes, I say a lot of times, students find the right tools half the time. So always remember that. And here is my contact information. If you have any questions whatsoever, please just email me at jeff@floridaipday.org. And let me see if there's any more questions here in the chat. These tools are replacing marketable skills. Oh, here it is. This is a good question. These tools are replacing marketable skills. How we prepare students to compete in a marketplace where technology is making jobs obsolete. You mentioned grant writing and APA styles, designers for video, photographers for dogs on the beach. Yeah, you've got the photographers of dogs on the beach. Yeah, that is definitely one of those ethical concerns that people have. However, there does seem to be a lot of jobs being created as well for in these particular fields as well. I mentioned coding. Coding was one of them. Coding was, we were telling everyone to start coding. Now all of a sudden we got ChatGPT to do it for them. we were already training students for jobs that potentially could be obsolete before they got trained in them. So yeah, that is definitely true. But also, if a student is, I think students who master these particular tools will not be obsolete. I will say that. So I would just encourage students to stay on top of what's out there when it comes to these tools themselves. And does AE grant cover the cost of GPT? That is a good question. We'll have to ask the folks at the Department of Education on that one. But that is a good question. But the good news is ChatGPT. I mean the ChatGPT costs, especially just for a couple users, for teachers and so forth, is fairly affordable itself. And presentations, and look here. Let me go ahead and pop this up real quick before we close. Here is actually the Oh, I have to log in. Sorry about that. But if you do go to the actual website of IPDAY, they will have everything there. They just confirmed that this PowerPoint presentation and the book will be posted there as well. All righty, everybody. It was great talking to my folks in Florida. It seems like I'm talking everywhere else. Let me give you, before we do the feedback, I want to talk about the webinar that is tomorrow. We do have one tomorrow. It is called Maximizing Student Success with TABE, Addressing Commonly Missed Skills to Inform Instruction. And that is by Mike Johnson himself, I believe, from TABE, is actually doing that presentation. So you get to hear that from the main gentleman himself. And there is your survey. With as soon as you, I want to wish everyone a great week, and thanks again for attending.